Rouge Cycling Podcast for Stage 3 of La Vuelta, the final stage in Italy, and we have a typical Tirreno-Adriatico style finish, which we've often had. We had 3 of these sort of stages in 2021, where an Alaphilippe, a Van der Poel, a Van Aert, a versatile sprinter, a puncher, maybe even a GC rider can get involved from San. How do you say this? I want to say it was Spanish pronunciation, but it's not in Spain. San Maurizio Canavese to Jerez, 134 kilometers long. A little bit rolly, though. It's not as flat as the other stages. 2,000 meters of climbing. We have one categorized climb, Cat 2, 6K, 6.5%. But the first 3Ks are like 8%, so it's quite hard at the start. Descent, bonus sprint just after that descent on an uphill kicker, more rolling hills, and then like a big sort of, if you know Gorge Road, we all know Gorge Road, like going up Gorge Road in the TDU, they normally come down it. That sort of road next to a river up to this finish where it's the last 2.5Ks, 3.2%. It's pure power test, as Luis Aular said at the finish. Last K is 4.5%. Draft is important, power is important. If you drop the wheel, it's not good. It's I actually quite like these sprints.
I actually kind of do, because it gives a different dynamic to it. First of all, you have the dynamic of, okay, can Philipsen survive? Secondly, what else changes? If it's really hard, can it even lead to punchers making it? Now, I'll be honest, before the stage, I wasn't necessarily expecting that. With the hairpins, that does change it a little bit. It almost felt like the finish. The finish to me felt like a cipressa. No, a poggio. Like a poggio to the finish. That's the vibe I had looking at the race here. But before we get into the actual racing, there's 2 things that happened before the start. Axel Zangler did not start yesterday. There was a whole narrative, Patrick. So starting off, Zangler, when he got off the bike after his crash, or when he crashed yesterday in the race, his bike was put somewhere in the race convoy there, and he went back for it after coming from the ambulance, and that bike was gone. That was reported as that bike was stolen.
Yeah.
Turns out it was just taken to the team car by a mechanic or something.
Is in the broom wagon.
Okay, so someone took it away from the race convoy and it wasn't stolen. So Visma bike this morning reports publicly Zangler's bike was not stolen. Okay, great news. 1 hour later, I see another tweet by Visma bike. 18 of our bikes were stolen. So slight escalation from 1 to 0 to 18 bikes. It's the same thing that happened with Cofidis at the Tour de France. Cofidis ended up finding some initially 1 day later or something in a forest nearby. And then eventually, I'm pretty sure that the bikes were found by local police department, etc. I'm not 100% sure though, because it's been a while. But today, same thing happens. They find a few bikes again in a forest nearby. The thing I don't understand, what is the reason that when robbers take bikes from cycling teams, they always take a few and drop them off in a nearby forest?
But how, if it was just me and you robbing the bikes?
Yeah.
With my...
Who's doing what job?
With my mini countryman, we're both... I mean, I have to go into the... We use me to get inside like a small space, like a air conditioning vent. You can dangle me by my legs and get me in.
But how do we get the bikes through the air conditioned vent outside?
Exactly. Or how many can you fit in my mini countryman? So that's
a very good question.
They just can't fit. They take as many as they can, and then they get to whatever vehicle they have, and then they try to fit in as many as possible, and then the leftover ones that don't fit, they just dump in. They just leave
nearby
in the
forest,
wherever they've parked their car in a forest or whatever park or something.
How can teams prevent this, or is it the responsibility of the organizer to make sure?
The teams don't get to pick their hotels. The teams don't get to pick where they're staying at night. They don't get to pick what area of town they're in. They don't know that the hotel has security guards. So should the teams have to, if they're staying in wherever, should they have to hire personal security to look after the team vans?
Step 1, is it possible to put a tracker on one of the bikes? Maybe that way find them easier. But secondly, I think it's not the responsibility of the teams to do that. I think it is the responsibility of the organizers to make it safer. And especially these big organizers like EOSO, who owns Unipublic, who owns La Vuelta. That's still the case, right? That staircase?
Yep.
then I expect ASO, we've seen their figures, their financial figures, they can afford a few security guards at hotels. I'm sorry. So I think, sure, these teams will be insured. I'm assuming these bikes, I think the value put on it by the media was 250,000 euros of bikes, these 18 bikes. I don't know if that's true. I don't know the value of a Cervelo bike in total, but it's probably not a cheap bicycle, let's be honest about it. I think the frame alone costs a bit of money. But at the end of the day, that's a lot of money, but it's insured. But that doesn't mean that the organizers shouldn't do their best to protect it.
And also, that's 18 bikes gone. And then, yeah, the
Zangler
teams
has 0 bikes, but then again, he wouldn't need it anymore.
And Zangler being out, he's probably would have been a top 5 favourite maybe for the finish today. But also, probably more importantly for Vingegaard, he's down a rider 2 days before a team time trial. So Visma have to start the TTT a man short. But yeah, on the bikes, then it's a huge amount of stress, of course, for the whole staff and then the mechanics. And shout out to Movistar and Trek. They also helped out there because, yeah, teams can't lend you a frame, but they can lend you components. So they're SRAM teams. And so if you're missing levers, you're missing a crankset, you're missing whatever, the teams will share one sponsor, although they obviously have individual sponsor agreements. But yeah, shout out to those teams for helping out Visma this morning.
And also all the mechanics that stepped up this morning and had to put new bikes together, get them in the right setup for the riders, etc. That's always an underrated aspect of the sport, that there's so many staff members working behind the scenes to get these riders in the best possible position, the best possible placement, the best possible form, the best possible equipment at the start of a race. So bit of a highlight there as well that we don't necessarily mention enough on the podcast.
I would sleep with my bike. If I was a proper Grand Tour leader, I would have it in the room.
And that's a big if, my friend. Then again, small man, ride bike fast.
Exactly. That's like when you got a cricket bat as a kid. That's like a 7-year-old. You're hugging that when you go to sleep. But back to the stage, a small breakaway went very similar to yesterday. Sean Quinn, former American national champion for EF Education Easy Post, Patrick Gamper on Jayco, Alessandro Vere again for Airbnb Hotels, and Luca Van Boven for Wanty. And the 4 riders is kind of important because it means at the intermediate sprint, in theory, there's 1 position remaining that gives points, the 5th position, for 10 points. And I think we got to have this in the Tour. I think this increases the importance of the intermediate sprint hugely, and it also, it rewards the real sprinter rather than like the GC sprinter. Anyway, they're in the break. I went for a walk, and then what happened, Benji?
So basically, in the last 80 kilometers, that's when the hills start, and that's where the action begins in this race, I would say, because the breakaway starts hitting it on that fast proper climb, the only big climb on today's parkour. The one you mentioned, that is 5.8 kilometers at, 6.5%, but steeper at the start, roughly. In the breakaway, we've got a fight between Alessandro Vere and Sean Quinn for the KOM points. Vere takes those points, but Quinn goes straight up over him over the top and is the one that ends up being the solo rider ahead from the breakaway. So Quinn basically drops everyone after this climb. On the climb, Vere expands his lead in KOM because Vere was the KOM leader before today and will be dead after today, basically. Now, he might have been wearing it on behalf of Vingegaard, but I don't think he is anymore. So that's my conclusion there. Nonetheless, behind in the peloton, activities were starting to spur. And those activities were a little trek. They see the current situation of the sprints after stage 1. They see that Jasper Philipsen is pretty fast on a bicycle, and they say, okay, hill zone parkour. Little Trek came here without a complete sprint train. They chose to choose riders that can make versatile races like today harder to try and drop pure sprinters. And that's exactly the plan they had going in today, because that first climb, immediately Gebrek Zabir goes to the front, and that man can keep riding at solid watts for quite a while on these hills. So he was not necessarily dropping half the peloton, but gradually building fatigue in everyone. And the peloton had some splits. There were some riders off the back, stuff like that. Philipsen still looked okay on this climb, though. He was not dropped, but depends on how long he can keep following if Little Trek keep this up. And they keep this up over the top of this first climb. There's a bonus sprint, like you say, an intermediate sprint. just after the descent of this climb with about 65 kilometers to go, 60 kilometers to go, roughly. That intermediate sprint, first of all, there's a few riders that will take points from the breakaway. But at the end of the day, there's still 3 spots available, I'm pretty sure, from the peloton.
No, yeah, only because the breakaway got brought back.
Yes, because there are 2 riders from the breakaway that are still ahead. Those riders take the first 2 spots at intermediate sprint, and there's 3 spots available for the peloton. Yeah. So,
and it was a bonus sprint.
Right. You are right that hypothetically, if 4 riders were still ahead, there would be 1 position available. Here there's 3, which now begs the question. We see a sprint happening there. We see Ciccone helping out for Pedersen. We see Pedersen, let's be honest about it, winning that sprint, taking the 3rd spot, taking 15 points. His competitor, Jonas Vingegaard. So I'm wondering, did Vingegaard sprint for green jersey points or for the 1 bonus second that was left?
I think he saw because the 2 guys from the break, they were getting caught literally in the last 500 meters of the sprint. Trek lined them up. I think he saw them coming back, realized, oh shit, is the break getting caught? Because they were in position already. Yeah. The break getting caught. This is a bonus gate sprint.
Yeah.
I'm going to sprint for a free 2 seconds or something. In the end, there weren't seconds available because there were still 2 guys ahead and Pedersen took 1.
But do we have a Froglic-like name for Vingegaard? Because he does take 13 points at the intermediate sprint, becoming competitive for the green jersey tonight.
Vingegaard.
That's so boring.
What else?
I'm not having that shit. Vinga Green? Not at all.
Vingeverde.
I'll accept it, even though it's not as funny as Froglic.
Yeah.
Froglic was just go-to. There's no way you can beat that name.
Froglic was too good, yeah. You know who would have won today?
Matthew Brennan?
Primoz, yeah. 2021 Froglic. I mean, see you later.
Exactly.
He would have won this easily. But before we get to the main action after that bonus sprint, I think what Mads Pedersen would have looked around and he would have been like, "Are you serious, Vingegaard? You serious? You really you contesting me for the points jersey?" And I think
Danish on Danish violence.
Yeah. Speaking of which, Matthias Norsgaard is going to Little Trek. That was announced. More Danes over at Little Trek. That was announced this morning. But before we get to the final of this race, maybe you feel like you don't have time to train as much as the guys in the Vuelta. You know, when life feels completely chaotic, the first thing that gets pushed aside is your training, your habits, whether it's eating, sleep, riding, but they're the things that make you feel good and in control in the first place. I've been there. When your week feels unpredictable, sometimes the best thing to have is some consistency and that foundation, a thing you can rely on to keep you feeling good. And that's exactly why Join exists. If you miss a ride, if it adapts. If you've only got 30 minutes instead of the hour you thought you had, Join makes those 30 minutes actually count. No guilt, no punishment, just smart training that works with your real life. So if your schedule feels like chaos, your training doesn't have to. Try Join Cycling today. Get the annual plan. It's less than, the cost of a coffee in your country, Benji, is outrageous, but I was trying to convert it. Yeah, I'll convert it to...
Solution, don't drink coffee, spend the money on Join.
I think that's still not an option. I was going to say that for the read, but I just don't believe it. I don't believe it. So I would say just be like, okay, coffee, vital necessity. Join Cycling, also vital necessity. And for the cost of 2 cups of coffee in Benji's country, maybe 3 in Australia, you can get Join Cycling's annual subscription. So the annual plan is the best value and supports a year of stress-free training. So try it out. Winter's just coming around the corner. No better time before Christmas to maybe don't let yourself backslide. Actually get on top of things, get training, and try it out through the link down below.
Getting a coffee in Australia is like buying a pizza in Spain.
What do you mean? Australia is the best coffee in the world?
I'm not having that shit.
No, it's like not a controversial opinion. Ask any of the pros that go to TDU.
Controversial opinion. I'm not accepting this. Continue.
You don't drink coffee.
Just trying to stir something up, okay?
That's like, yeah. That's why I don't... You brought it up, so I'm going to do a rant. you've brought this up because we're starting the Vuelta in Italy, so it's like I have to speak about it. A lot of the pros they did an interview, little flash interview, the fun stuff with the race organizer before, and they're like, where has the best food, Spain or Italy? And like ball knowers
Japan.
know that Spain has the better food than Italy. It's not close, and I think 8 of the 9 pros said Italy, but one man who I trust because he is like I trust him with anything. Like I trust him with my life. Mikhail Kwiatkowski said Spain. So
Hot take. I would never eat a pizza at a restaurant because for a pizza, I've never had a pizza in my life and I've said, oh, that was so amazing. It's worth the 20 pounds I just spent on it.
20 pounds?
Just 15 euros, 13 euros, 11 euros, whatever. A pizza's not worth that. I'm sorry.
But you don't like pizza or what? You make it at home?
It's not financially worth it outdoors to eat pizza in a restaurant.
But I feel like I can make a decent pasta at home, but making a pizza is way more effort. Like I'm not building a wood-fired oven. I'm not doing that. I can put it in a pot.
The question is,
yeah, Benji, we had
does Visma allow you to build your own wood-fire oven? Or do you have the same DIY restrictions as Jonas Vingegaard?
I don't think Visma care if I burn my hands. They'd probably rather I wasn't fucking
yapping like crazy.
Yeah, so I'm not under the same restrictions. Also, I'm the most risk averse. Actually, that's not true. But yeah, like Pidcock up here, Pidcock did ski mountaineering up Casamagna in the snow. I was like, excuse me. But yeah, by the way, yeah, Italy, the food has 3 ingredients that they rotate. After 2 weeks, you'll be bored of it. Spain is superior.
I will take an Italian pasta over anything that is made in Spain any day of the week.
Yeah, but after 2 weeks, you'll be bored of it because that's it. That's it. Like,
Japanese food is better. I'm telling you.
Can I have some pepper? Like, so we don't do spices, buddy. Yeah, Japanese food is obviously coded. That was a lot. It's only 130k stage, so we had to stir up for some controversy there. But yeah, Little Trek. Did they hurt themselves here? Did they? I feel like they might have because they make the stage so hard. They smash all the hills. Philipsen's cooked. We get to the last 20k's. Philipsen's like on this false slide uphill. He just gives up. He's just dangling at the back and there's like, I cannot contest this finish. I'm fucked. But also, Little Trek start running out of numbers. Darnola is not there, who I thought was going to bring them into the last 3Ks. Gabregsby has been controlling and making it hard. He's not there. And they basically have Søren Kragh, Baggioli, Ciccone, Verona's done the run-in. They have 3 for Pedersen. But Søren Kragh, if we get to the last 5Ks, and everyone's lined up, it's UAE, they get shuffled badly. Sheffield, he comes across, he tries to crash Vingegaard into a retaining wall. And then Ineos get washed away. Turner brings them up. And then I think it's Vingegaard's lucky he's Danish, because I think Pedersen gives him a little bit of leeway to sit in the train, in the Little Trek train. I was thinking Little Trek looked thin at like 3-4Ks to go in this run-in.
That is true. Sorry, I was completely zoned out. I was literally thinking about pizza still. I was like, I was so stuck on our pizza discussion.
Do you make pizza at home?
I disagree with you on that because you don't need to make it at home. There's such a thing as frozen pizza.
Yeah, but I'm not having food debates with you anymore. I get too angry. I feel like you're baiting me.
Tea is glorified water.
Tea?
Yes.
It is water, Benji.
Water's better.
It's literally water. So, I mean, Luke is fired. I've never seen Luke this fired up in our chat. Luke is kicking off. He's kicking off.
Stroopwafels are terrible.
Yeah, I mean...
Attacking Luke.
I've been to the Benelux. Let's not go there with the food.
Liège waffles are so much better. Anyway, I have no clue what you said. You were talking about Pedersen looking tin or Vingegaard looking tin?
I was saying the numbers of the rouleurs for Trek was one less than I expected at 3Ks to go. And I was expecting like Darnhola or Verona to still be there, but instead it's Ska is still there. And in the Danish Natty Champs jersey, and he gets blown away. Campenarts starts smashing it. It goes Campenarts. He goes to 2Ks to go. There's a bridge. By the way, no 3K rule today because it's 3%. So it's uphill finish. No 3K rule. And also, under gaps, if there's 1 second, you get put on a gap. And there can easily be 1 second. Easily be 1 second. We saw in Burgos, Ciccone lost GC on a finish like this when Del Toro crashed him in the last corner.
But especially in a stage like this, where, like you said, Little Trek is looking thin when it comes to the teammates, in doing so, that gives opportunity to other teams and other riders. And Visma is maybe initially trying to keep Vingegaard safe, but they were doing more than that. Because in the last 2.5 kilometers, they were the ones moving to the front. And their team was pacing. Campenarts, then Jorgensen, all for Vingegaard to be in position till it was in the wheel of Vingegaard initially, then eventually came to the front to pedal as well, to pace as well. And now all of that makes this climb so much harder than maybe Little Trek wanted in the first place. Yes, they wanted to make it hard, but not Visma starts pacing on the final hill hard, I think. And that starts impacting the outcome here because the peloton is starting to get stretched quite a lot to the point that I'm, from the helicopter view, I'm anticipating gaps at this point. UAE is looking behind. I'm like, oh, they're a bit far behind. Ineos got Turner moving up with Ghana in the wheel. I'm like, okay, maybe Ghana can compete on a finish like this. He tried the same on an easier finish against Kokar back in the day in Bessèges.
Ghana followed Pog Nuke on Cipressa.
Yes.
Well, he should be good on this.
I agree.
And he got cooked. And it was like in the corner. Mate. 3 teams took chances to like throw a haymaker at each other. So it was like Campenarts, Jorgensen, and then Trek were like, have some of this, lad. And so not Anderson, Baggioli starts pulling. And then Ineos came with Turner. And then they got blown away. Then Tullett was just like winding it up. And I was like, holy fuck, because then I looked back. No, I didn't look back. I was watching the TV. The helicopter shot then showed splits. I was like, the UAE guys, I thought they're fucked. Like, they're going to get put on a 10-second gap. And then Santi, I'm pretty sure it was Santi.
I think so.
He like bridged the gap because after Tullett's pull, Ciccone just drills it at 700. There's 2 corners. David Godou's also there.
And in the process, you see Ghana, who in one of the hairpins kind of loses the wheel.
Yeah.
The others accelerate. He can't match that acceleration. He starts dropping off the wheel. And there's a small split behind Godou as well. Godou in the wheel of Aular, in the wheel of Vingegaard, in the wheel of Pedersen, in the wheel of Ciccone. There's probably one more rider in there that I forgot to attribute to. But those are the riders in that front echelon. It's not really an echelon, but I'll call it that for a second here, that are riding to the finish with a small gap on the others. A small gap that might or might not be a gap at the finish line, depending on how fast they arrive. But then the corners really start mattering, and Ciccone goes off the front. And did you think that with 250 meters, 300 meters, when Ciccone went off the front and Pedersen had to start pacing himself with Vingegaard in the wheel, with Godou in the wheel, Aular had lost the wheel, so Godou had to go past Aular to the wheel of Vingegaard. So he's now in 4th position. Ciccone goes off the front there. Pedersen starts pacing for Vingegaard himself. Well, not for Vingegaard, in front of Vingegaard. Was that too early for Pedersen to have to do work here before his sprint even started?
I thought Pedersen had it. I mean, this finish reminded me a lot of the Paris-Nice stage 1 or 2 finish where Coy beat Pedersen last year. There was a corner with 125 to go, but it was on the flat. So maybe the same time distance from the corner to the finish. Pedersen nearly won that, and that's against Coy. Yeah. And so I was thinking here, he's just going to do 5 hard pedal strokes, brake check them, early turn, cut off the apex to any dive bomber, kick out of the corner, and if you're first through the corner, you win. Like this would have been their plan. Like put Pedersen P2, put him into that last corner P1, and then if he kicks out and he's first in that corner, no puncher is going to come from behind him and win. And actually, like Vingegaard couldn't. The problem for Pedersen was David Godou does the slickest corner of anybody in quite a while. It's not dirty. It's totally play on. Pedersen swings wide early. David Gaudu goes on the inside. Yeah, it's a dive bomb, but he sets his own line in that he's level with Pedersen through this corner, side by side, by the apex, and Pedersen just ran wide. Gaudu starts pedaling before Pedersen, and he exits the corner ahead of him because he did the corner so well. That's also why Pedersen lost that Paris-Nice sprint, because Coy started his pedal stroke and was level with him out of the corner much, much earlier. And Gaudu just nails him in the corner, and he's able to re-kick out of it. He mentioned and wins the stage, which was crazy. He mentioned afterwards, I now have 2 of these sprint wins. I beat Van Aert. He beat Van Aert in a sprint like this in the Dauphiné 22, and now he beats Pedersen in a sprint like this. So it was a really, really exciting finish. I enjoyed it a lot.
When you look at Gaudu in those last 500 meters, the way he passes Aulaar, the way he passes Vingegaard, I felt like I was watching F1. That overtake under Vingegaard, that dive bomb, whatever you call it, that felt like a Daniel Ricciardo overtake. And now it's my turn to do some other sport references that I don't know anything about.
Pretty sure he doesn't. Yeah, it was like Ricciardo.
See?
Yeah. I also
had to
don't watch
Google
F1.
a name for it, but I had nothing else to say about the overtake. It just looked very cool.
It was it's a really, really nice. I would call it an undertake. I would call it an undertake rather than a dive bomb. I don't feel like it endangered the other two.
It didn't endanger them at all. It's just better racing in the last 300 meters. As simple as that.
Yeah.
Gaudu raced the final better and won. And you could argue, does Pedersen need to take the final corner on slightly differently? Maybe go wider in and sharper out. But then you also open up the inside before you enter the corner in the first place. So then maybe someone dive bombs you there. So you got to look at it in both ways as well. At the end of the day, Gaudu played it perfectly. He wins the stage, and Pedersen will be disappointed. Little Trek will be disappointed after all the work the team did for this, but they do get a massive delta in points versus Philipsen, who dropped with 7K to go.
Yeah, but I don't think Philipsen's the problem anymore because, his shape is not looking so good.
Yeah. New green jersey.
New green jersey is Chicone. Well, it's Vingegaard.
Yeah.
But Chicone lends it from him. I think Chicone could have won this finish. When I think about it.
Possibly.
Yeah, I think Chicone could have won this, but they weren't.
In hindsight, pre-hindsight, before the stage starting, you would always pick Pedersen over Chicone.
Yeah, I would. You can't be like we all said this is the Mads Pedersen nailed on finish.
Yeah.
What's really, I'll do the top 10. David Gaudu wins ahead of Pedersen, Vingegaard third, so he does take 4 seconds. Gaudu actually draws level with Vingegaard because Gaudu came third yesterday and took 4 bonus seconds himself. Vingegaard, I think, is leading on, I don't know why, some tiebreaker. Chicone 4th, Labrosse 5th, Aulaar 6th, Santi 7th, Bernal 8th, Bjorn Kort 9th, the Briton Picnic, Hindley 10th. I'm telling you, Hindley, when Hindley's getting half decent results in these sort of stages, then
that's why I picked him.
Yeah. Fabio Christian 11th and Fisher Black 12th. What's crazy to me is no time gaps for the first 70 riders.
That's crazy.
At 1K to go, I was sure there would be time gaps. And then, some riders got a bit lucky, I guess. I'm trying to see if anyone lost time.
I can't see anyone that lost time that is super important. Iberi didn't lose time today, so that's something.
Wilco.
Wow. That's irrelevant. Jay Vine lost 5 minutes again.
Buchmann.
So Vine is not close enough to take the red jersey after stage 6 anymore, you know? That's the vibe I was going with there.
I'm trying to see who had a bad day. So Riesebeck on 17 minutes. Maybe something wrong there. And Carlos Garcia Pierna on 26 minutes. So maybe there's something there with sickness or injury. Yeah, very exciting stage. Happy for Gaudu, happy for FDJ. And because he's had a pretty shitty year, David Gaudu, actually, after looking really good in Oman. He's had a bit of bad luck, and in Tour de l'Ain, he looked pretty average, to be honest, and cool to see him doing well here. GC, Vingard leads, same time Gaudu, Ciccone on 8 seconds, Bernal on 14, Pidcock is on 16 seconds, as is most of all the other GC favourites. Hindley, Buitrago, Ayuso, Almeida, etc. Points, Vingard 65, leading Ciccone 54, Gaudu 52. Philipsen's still ahead of Mads Pedersen, by the way. And tomorrow's stage, I think, is a very important stage in that battle.
I agree with you there. And towards tomorrow's stage, let's be honest about it. It's loading. That's why I'm trying to save time here. I'm going to do it from the top of my head, Patrick. I'm going to do the stage from the top of my head. So the stage starts in the first half. There are 3 climbs. The first climb is the smallest of the 3. The second one is the middle sizest. And the third one is the Lotharet. And the second one is Montgenèvre, I'm pretty sure. And then we've got a long downhill for the next 30, 40 kilometers before we have a last 40, 50 kilometers where there's, I assume, an intermediate sprint somewhere. I don't know from the top of my head, but there's one more steep hill somewhere in the last 40 kilometers, between 40 and 30 kilometers to go. And I know that the final goes uphill in the last 3 kilometers, then slightly downhill, then back uphill upstairs. How accurate was that?
That's pretty accurate, yeah. Pretty accurate. The bonus sprint and intermediate sprint is late. 32 kilometers from the finish. That's possible that the breakaway has been caught by then. I think Trek will have been emboldened by Philipsen being bad today, and Trek are going to think they can drop him on these hills and keep him behind tomorrow, and I think they might be right. And then the difference is the finish is easier than today. It's not as difficult, and so Pedersen will be sprinting against Aula, Ganna, Turner probably. So I think some teams, this will be the first day where we have people trying to fight for the break, because the start of the stage is much more difficult, including a reasonably hard climb straight out of the gate. We're looking at
Iron Gate?
A gate was in Renewey. Like Jordan Labrosse, go in the break. If you're decathlon, let's have a look at who do I want to see in the break. Hessman.
To try and secure his KOM points again?
No, they're going to go for Aular, which is actually fair enough. I think Movistar, I think you have to back him.
Yeah.
Quickstep will be in the break for sure with Reindrink or whoever. I think Red Bull will be in the break with, this is a Nico Denz nailed on. Actually, I've got my pick. Denz.
Oh, God. Who? Sorry?
Nico Denz from the break.
Okay. I'm going for Pedersen.
I'm going to throw out some other names from the breakaway. Remy Cavagna. Koen Bowman.
The little Trek will have to hammer it completely for Pedersen to win this, by the way.
Why?
The first half.
I don't think you need to make
5K.
it. I don't think you need to make it that hard to keep Philipsen behind.
I got to drop him first. He didn't drop instantly today.
Yeah, it's high altitude.
Yeah.
I think he didn't look so good at the finish.
Yeah,
but we'll see. And what did Albertson? Do you keep your whole team behind? Probably. So if you're Luca Vergolito, that's your job to bring him back.
Yeah.
I would like to see Kwiatkowski in the breakaway. I'd like to see Jungels in the break. Could be a good option. And I think break's a good option.
I think it's possible. I think it could go both ways, but I think Little Trek came to this race to be able to control such stages and to be able to drop and damage Philipsen. So with a full team aiming for that, I see Little Trek perhaps getting the victory. So I'm going for Pedersen for this one, but
okay, fair enough. Any other news? Oh yeah, it just got put on Twitter. So we had a report first from Daniel Benson that Derek G had told Israel Premier Tech that he terminated his contract. so unilaterally. Then maybe that morning, Israel Premier Tech released a statement saying that they have seen these reports in the media and that they are contesting the termination of the contract. I'm just going to find the announcement.
You're looking for the exact announcement?
I got it.
Okay.
Israel Premier Tech was unexpectedly issued a notice of termination from lawyers representing Derek G on Friday, 9 August. G, who was contracted with Israel Premier Tech until 2028, have signed a 5-year contract extension. Having signed a 5-year contract extension in 2023, have been engaged in discussions with team management to renegotiate the conditions of his current contract. Israel Premier Tech firmly believes that G's contract is valid until end 28 and is engaged in continued discussions with G's representatives and the UCI to resolve the situation and uphold the respective contract. No further comments can be made at this time. The rumor from Daniel Benson's initial publication said that he was headed towards the Ineos Grenadiers. Derek G has released 45 minutes ago a state, and it was very clear, like something was odd because he did the Giro, didn't race, was clearly he's their best rider, and then wasn't in the Vuelta lineup. So but then if your best rider's injured, normally you say that publicly as to why he's not in the Vuelta team. Derek G just released a statement regarding my absence at La Vuelta and Israel Premier Tech. It goes on, I confirm that my contract with Israel Premier Tech has been formally and duly terminated by my legal representatives. This was not an easy decision, but one I made after careful consideration for legitimate reasons. Certain issues simply made my continuation at the team untenable. I want to make it very clear, despite some current reporting, this decision solely concerns the termination of my previous contract with Israel Premier Tech. In accordance with UCI regulations, I have not yet signed with, nor even spoken to, any new teams. I wish to send a heartfelt thank you to the staff and riders I had the privilege of working with in my time in the organization. Sincerely, Derek. So I think we're going to have a fight, Benji, because with who was it before? Who were the recent buyouts, the biggest ones? Matthias Norsgaard.
What if we go back even further? If we go back all the way to 2021, when Andre Amador left Movistar to join Ineos during the whole debacle with what's his name? With Carapaz and the agent. Aquadro. Like the rather famous or infamous, it depends on how you see him. Agent during that time that had trouble with Movistar for a couple of years. That was part of this problem with Carapaz. But anyway, Amador was supposed to join Ineos, but Movistar didn't want him to leave or something, and as a consequence, he wasn't able to race until February and the year after. So he lost the first 2 months of his year where he wasn't allowed to compete as a Ineos rider. So I think at the end of the day, the way I look at both these statements, Derek G is not going to ride for IPT in the future. But
he's going to sit.
Yeah. But I don't expect IPT to not fight, because if IPT allows Derek G to go, then other riders will follow.
Exactly. And I think with Otterbrooks, eventually the tripartite was signed. Yeah. With Carlos Rodriguez, he had like a pre-agreement. It was still legally binding, but he was never registered as a rider at Movistar. But still, there was a settlement. With Roglic and Groenewegen, it was like, it was an amicable, like, doesn't fit anymore. And with Matthias Norsgaard, I'm not sure, because he also had a year on his contract at Movistar. But this is like, it could be, I remember with Bora and Otterbrooks, I don't think this is posturing from either party. I think Israel Premier Tech are like, you have a contract that you can't unilaterally terminate. And probably,
well,
I would expect them to fight it.
UCI rule-wise, you can't unilaterally terminate it, but what do the labor laws say? Because in that sense, on paper, as an employee of a company, you should be able to dip out.
But he might not be an employee. This is where it depends. He could be a contractor on a fixed term contract for tax reasons.
Yeah.
So, and there's a non-compete clause in there. So, and the laws of the contract probably Israel, because Israel Permatech is registered in Israel, per the UCI website that I checked. So, I think it's going to be. It's not going to get resolved in 2 weeks. I wouldn't expect. It's not the same. It's their best rider. It's their best rider.
Well,
and
not anymore.
Well, from the perspective of the team, it's their best rider.
Yes.
And he's trying to cancel it. And G, on the other hand, is like, my contract's done. I'm not riding for you anymore. So we'll see what happens. This could go to CAS. It could be resolved. But the UCI just introduced very specific new regulations about this after the Outerbrooks drama. So that's about to be tested by and put in front of the UCI, and then we'll see what happens. But this is we'll keep talking about it. It's an ongoing saga, probably. And but yeah, you won't see. I very much doubt that we'll see Derek G in competition this year.
This year I don't expect him to ride either.
No.
World Championships is maybe a difference. Rwanda rides for Canada, not for Israel.
Yeah, Worlds, yeah.
So I do expect him to ride that, actually.
But then, what equipment does he use? And then he can, in his mind, the contract's terminated, so he can ride whatever bike he wants.
That is true, but if he loses the court case, hypothetically, then he'll lose it harder if he shows up on non-IPT equipment.
It makes it worse, yeah, it makes it worse. Because it's like another breach of the contract that was.
I don't know.
Who did that last time? Someone.
Higita or
someone used the different equipment in Worlds.
At the end of. Oh no, I was remembering that event.
Dennis in the World Champs TT.
There was also an EF rider.
Yeah, but that was more like the off-season.
A local Colombian event.
That was in the off-season, yeah.
That was also dramatic.
Dowsett was allowed to use, in his contract, he was allowed to use different equipment in TTs in international events. So that was permitted. But yeah, we'll see. And I guess this is going to get put up to the UCI now because it's two parties at loggerheads.
My opinion's simple. I'm hoping to see Derek G at whatever team he ends up riding it at the start of next year because he's a rider I enjoy seeing. And yeah, I'm usually on the side of the rider in these situations.
I haven't said at loggerheads for like, I had to even check that it. Yeah. I had to even check.
What is it at loggerhead?
At loggerheads is in like a in dispute or disagreement. Also,
what isn't at loggerheads? Just a
realized,
sound to me.
Also, I realized I'd been also teaching you bad English words because I said a pithy saying or observation is an epithet, not true. It's an aphorism. It's an aphorism, and an epithet is like an adjective. So
Can I be really honest?
I completely fucked that up.
I don't listen to you 90% of the time.
I wouldn't either. I mean, no one's listening to us right now.
I just think about pizza all the time. What is your favorite pizza topping?
You got anything on your mind? Your political observations? No one's listening. All right, we'll end it there. Thanks for listening. As always, we're back with the Vuelta Stage 4 tomorrow. Ciao, ciao.